Welcome to part 3 of the 2-player pinball machine build. In part 2, I put together a majority of the main framework, and you can already get a sense of the shape of the machine. Let's continue with the construction. The next pieces to be cut are the ends that will complete the frame. I marked out one side and cut it down. The top edge of the end pieces will be sloped to match the top of the machine. When cutting the second piece, I figured it would be easier to cut the slope on the first pass, and I was right. The first piece I cut had to be carefully trimmed. There were a few things to do before attaching the end pieces. I needed to cut out the holes for the tunnels, but in order to do that, I needed to know where to cut. So, I sketched the layout onto the playing surface. I used the scale drawing as reference to transpose the lines and measurements. I needed to mark some specific sizes and spaces for the flippers, so I made a mock-up of one of the flippers and put one of the rubber bands on it. It ended up having to be a bit smaller than originally planned due to the limitations of the rubber band. I tested some random items in my garage to get the desired circumference on the curve at the end of the launch. A 5-pound weight proved to be the best option. There will be 4 openings on each side, one below the flippers for the dead balls, 2 for the entrances to the tunnels, and 1 exit for the marbles coming from the other side. I used a drill to cut a hole, and then used a jigsaw to cut out the rest. This one will be the lowest point on the playing surface, so any marble that gets past the flippers or becomes a dead ball will fall through this hole. I continued the process of cutting out the openings for the tunnel entrances and exits. Using the jigsaw here was a bit tricky because of how close it was to the side wall. I had to get creative with how I cut it out. Here, I used a ruler to get a feel for the slope of the path for the tunnel exit. I anticipate this machine moving around quite a bit in both construction and after it's completed. I wouldn't want anyone to try and pick it up in a way that could damage a part. So, I marked and cut out openings to be used for easy handling. Each corner will get one, so 2 people can safely move it. Much like the openings on the playing surface, I drilled a hole and used the jigsaw to cut more out. However, the jigsaw could not get the clean looking curve I was going for, so I brought out the router to finish the job. I used a 1/2-inch double flute straight bit to finish extracting. Then, I used a 7/8-inch roundover bit to make the handle comfortable to use. I continued the same process to complete all the other handles. The next step was to glue on the end pieces I cut earlier, and that would require a clean work surface. There was a bit of excess glue that had dried on the surface I was about to utilize, so I used a knife to scrape it off. I glued in the pieces and clamped it down, making sure they were in the right spot. Those orange bar clamps gave me some trouble, so I opted to use a few of the regular clamps and added the bar clamps as extra support. I let the machine sit overnight just like this to make sure the end pieces lock in place. With that step done, the machine should have virtually no wobble and should be very solid. And that'll be it for this video. So many of the kinks were worked out when sketching out the playing surface, and I'm quite pleased with the result of the cutouts both on the side for carrying and for the tunnels. In the next video, I'll build the tracks for the tunnels that cross from one side to the other. That's it for now. See ya!